There are people in this world who give endlessly. They listen when others are hurting. They understand emotions that most people ignore, and they often carry the pain of everyone around them. These people are called empaths. To many, they appear strong, kind, and endlessly patient. But what few people realize is that even empaths break. An empath's greatest strength is also their greatest burden. They feel deeply. They absorb emotions. They care, even when nobody cares for them in return. Because of this, many people assume that empaths can handle anything. They expect them to forgive endlessly, understand endlessly, and continue giving without limits. But no human being is designed to pour from an empty cup forever. The truth is that empaths often suffer in silence. They hide their pain behind smiles. They comfort others while secretly fighting battles nobody knows about. They become the shoulder everyone cries on, yet they have no one to lean on when they themselves are exhausted. Their kindness is mistaken for weakness. Their patience is mistaken for permission. And their love is often taken for granted. What hurts an empath the most is not conflict. It is being unappreciated. It is giving their heart to people who only come around when they need something. It is being loyal to those who never value that loyalty. It is realizing that they have been pouring love into relationships where they were merely an option, while they treated others as a priority. Over time, disappointment leaves scars. Betrayal leaves wounds. Constant emotional exhaustion slowly chips away at even the kindest soul. And because empaths hate burdening others, they rarely speak about their pain. Instead, they withdraw. They become quieter. They stop explaining themselves. Not because they no longer care, but because they are tired of giving everything and receiving so little in return. Many people don't recognize the warning signs. They think the empath is simply having a bad day. But inside, something much deeper is happening. The empath is questioning whether their kindness is worth it. They are wondering why they always seem to love harder, give more, and sacrifice more than everyone else. They begin to realize that constantly putting others first has cost them their own peace. And then comes the moment few people expect. The empath breaks. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with silence. They stop chasing people. They stop begging to be understood. They stop fighting for relationships that only survive because of their efforts. The person who once forgave everything suddenly becomes distant. The one who always answered messages immediately now takes time for themselves. The one who always made excuses for others finally sees the truth. And that truth changes everything. Because when an empath reaches their limit, they don't become cruel. They become selective. They learn that protecting their peace is not selfish. They realize that saying no is not a sin. They understand that loving others should never mean abandoning themselves. Ironically, many people only recognize an empath's value after they have emotionally checked out. By then, apologies come too late. Regrets appear too late. The warmth, patience, and unconditional support they once enjoyed are gone. Not because the empath stopped caring, but because they finally started caring about themselves. There is an important lesson in all of this. Again, people are not weak. Sensitive people are not fragile. Empaths are not endless sources of emotional energy. They have limits. They have wounds. They have needs that deserve to be respected. And just because they suffer quietly does not mean they are not suffering. So if there is an empath in your life, appreciate them while you still can. Value their presence. Respect their boundaries. Don't mistake their compassion for weakness or their forgiveness for unlimited tolerance. Because even the strongest hearts grow tired. And remember this, even empaths break. But sometimes, their breaking point is not the end of who they are. Sometimes, it is the beginning of who they were always meant to become. There are few people in this world who love as deeply, care as sincerely, and give as selflessly as empaths. They are the ones who notice what others miss. They sense pain hidden behind smiles, offer support without being asked, and often put the needs of others ahead of their own. To many, they seem incredibly strong. But what most people fail to understand is that even the strongest hearts have a breaking point. Empaths are not superhuman. They are not emotionless warriors capable of carrying everyone's burdens forever. They are human beings with feelings, limits, and wounds that are often invisible to the outside world. Yet because they are naturally compassionate, people frequently expect them to forgive endlessly, understand endlessly, and continue giving without asking for anything in return. And that is where the problem begins. An empath's kindness is often misunderstood. People mistake their patience for weakness. They mistake their forgiveness for permission. They assume that because an empath has tolerated hurt in the past, they will continue tolerating it forever. But every disappointment leaves a mark. Every betrayal creates a scar. Every moment of being taken for granted adds another weight to an already heavy heart. The truth is, empaths rarely complain. They don't like creating conflict. They don't enjoy making others feel guilty. Instead, they stay quiet. They tell themselves that things will improve. They give second chances, third chances, and sometimes far more chances than anyone deserves. They continue loving, even when they are not loved with the same sincerity. But beneath that calm exterior, something is slowly changing. The exhaustion grows, the loneliness deepens, and the pain becomes harder to hide. What most people fail to understand is that the breaking point of an empath does not happen overnight. It is not caused by one argument or one disappointment. It is the result of countless moments when they felt unseen, unheard, and unappreciated. It comes from years of being the one who always understands others while nobody truly understands them. Eventually, the empath begins to realize a painful truth. Not everyone values what they freely give. Not everyone deserves unlimited access to their heart. And not everyone who says they love them actually respects them. That realization changes everything. Because when an empath reaches their breaking point, something unexpected happens. They stop chasing. They stop explaining. They stop begging people to care. The person who once fought to keep everyone together becomes strangely quiet. The one who always answered every message becomes distant. The one who constantly sacrificed their own happiness finally begins choosing themselves. Many people mistake this transformation for coldness, but it is not coldness. It is self-preservation. It is the moment an empath realizes that protecting their peace is more important than pleasing everyone around them. And perhaps the most surprising part is that empaths rarely leave with anger. They do not seek revenge. They do not waste energy trying to destroy others. Instead, they simply walk away emotionally. They stop investing in relationships that drain them. They stop trying to convince people to appreciate them. They stop carrying responsibilities that were never theirs to begin with. By the time others notice the change, it is often too late. The warmth they once took for granted is gone. The endless understanding they relied on is gone. The loyalty they never appreciated is gone. And suddenly, the people who ignored the empath's value begin to understand what they have lost. But regrets cannot always repair what neglect has destroyed. There is a lesson hidden in all of this. Kindness should never be mistaken for weakness. Patience should never be abused. And a loving heart should never be treated as if it has no limits, because even the gentlest souls can grow tired. Even the most forgiving people can reach their limit, and even those who love the deepest eventually learn that they must protect themselves from those who only know how to take. So if there is an empath in your life, do not wait until they have reached their breaking point to appreciate them. Value their presence while they are still willing to share it. Respect their boundaries, honor their loyalty, and never assume that their love is guaranteed forever. Because the breaking point of an empath is not the moment they become heartless. It is the moment they finally realize that they deserve the same love, respect, and understanding they have spent their entire lives giving to everyone else. And once that realization comes, nothing is ever quite the same again. There are people in this world whose hearts seem almost limitless. They are the listeners, the healers, the ones who always know when something is wrong even when no one says a word. They give comfort without being asked, offer understanding without judgment, and carry the emotional weight of others as if it were their own. These are the kindest souls among us, empaths. But what many people fail to realize is that even the kindest souls can collapse. Empaths are often admired for their compassion, patience, and ability to love deeply. They seem strong because they continue showing up for others, even when they themselves are struggling. They appear unshakable because they rarely complain. Yet behind their calm smiles and caring nature, there is a silent battle taking place, one that few people ever notice. The truth is, empaths are not endless sources of emotional strength. They are human beings with limits, needs, and feelings that deserve to be protected. But because they naturally put others first, they often neglect themselves. They spend so much time healing others that they forget they need healing too. And that is where the hidden breaking point begins. Most empaths do not collapse because of one painful event. They collapse because of years of emotional exhaustion. They collapse because they keep giving to people who only know how to take. They collapse because they continue offering love to those who never truly appreciate it. Day after day, they become the safe place for everyone else. But who becomes a safe place for them? Who notices when they are hurting? who asks them if they are okay. Sadly, many empaths suffer in silence because they fear becoming a burden. They hide their pain behind kindness. They smile while their hearts are breaking. They encourage others while secretly feeling alone. And because they are so good at appearing strong, the world assumes they don't need support. But strength without rest eventually becomes exhaustion. Love without appreciation becomes pain. And kindness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. What most people fail to understand is that empaths don't suddenly change. Their transformation happens slowly. Every betrayal leaves a scar. Every broken promise creates disappointment. Every moment of being taken for granted adds another weight to an already tired soul. They continue giving. They continue forgiving. They continue hoping. Until one day, something inside them quietly breaks. Not because they stopped caring, but because they became too exhausted to keep carrying what was never theirs to carry. And when that hidden breaking point arrives, the change is impossible to ignore. The empath who once answered every call becomes silent. The person who always fought for relationships stops trying. The one who gave endless chances finally runs out of reasons to stay. Many people are shocked by this transformation. They wonder why the empath has become distant. They accuse them of changing. They call them cold. But the truth is much deeper. The empath has not become heartless. They have become aware. Aware that love should not require constant sacrifice. Aware that loyalty should be appreciated, not exploited. Aware that peace is more valuable than approval. For the first time in their lives, they begin choosing themselves. And surprisingly, this is where true healing begins. Because collapsing does not mean failing. Sometimes collapse is necessary. Sometimes breaking apart is what allows a person to rebuild themselves stronger than before. Empaths who have reached their lowest point often discover something life-changing. They learn that protecting their energy is not selfish. They learn that boundaries are not walls. They are acts of self-respect. They learn that saying no does not make them unkind. And they realize that not everyone deserves unlimited access to their heart. By the time others recognize the value of the empath, it is often too late. The person they once relied on without appreciation has changed. The warmth they took for granted has disappeared. The loyalty they ignored is no longer freely available. And suddenly, they understand what they lost. But some lessons arrive too late. So if there is an empath in your life, cherish them. Appreciate the love they give so freely. Respect the kindness they offer. Never assume that because they are patient, they will tolerate everything forever. Because even the kindest souls have limits. Even the strongest hearts grow tired. And even the most loving people can collapse under the weight of carrying everyone else's pain. But remember this, when the kindest souls collapse, it is not the end of their story. It is often the beginning of their awakening. The moment they stop abandoning themselves for others. The moment they finally recognize their worth. And the moment they discover that protecting their peace is one of the greatest forms of love they can ever give to themselves. There is a common misconception about empaths, that they are somehow limitless. Because they are compassionate, understanding, and always willing to help, people often assume they can carry endless emotional burdens without ever becoming exhausted. But the truth is something most people fail to understand. Empaths are not limitless. Behind their kindness, their patience, and their ability to deeply connect with others lies a reality that few people ever see. Empaths feel intensely. They absorb emotions. They notice pain that others overlook. And while this gift allows them to love deeply and support those around them, it also comes with a heavy price, because constantly giving without receiving eventually leads to emotional burnout. Most empaths don't set out to neglect themselves. In fact, helping others often comes naturally to them. They become the person everyone turns to in difficult times. They listen without judgment. They comfort without expecting anything in return. They give their time, their energy, and sometimes even pieces of themselves to make sure others feel understood. But somewhere along the way, they forget one important truth. They are human too. They have limits. They have needs. And they deserve the same care they so freely offer to everyone else. Unfortunately, many empaths spend years putting themselves last. They prioritize everyone else's happiness while silently ignoring their own exhaustion. They continue saying yes when they desperately need to say no. They continue carrying burdens that were never theirs to carry. And because they are so used to being strong, they rarely ask for help. Instead, they suffer quietly. The signs of emotional burnout are often invisible. An empath may still smile. They may continue showing up for others. They may appear calm and composed, but inside they are running on empty. They feel emotionally drained. They feel overwhelmed. They feel disconnected from themselves. Simple tasks become exhausting. Relationships that once brought joy begin to feel heavy. Their patience starts to wear thin. And for the first time in a long time, they begin to wonder why they are always the one giving more than they receive. What most people don't realize is that emotional burnout doesn't happen overnight. It is the result of countless moments of self-sacrifice, countless disappointments, countless times they ignored their own pain while healing everyone else's. Eventually, the heart that once had endless compassion begins to grow tired. Not because the empath has become selfish, not because they no longer care, but because even the most loving soul cannot pour from an empty cup forever. And when emotional burnout reaches its peak, something changes. The empath who always answered every call becomes quiet. The person who constantly put others first begins creating distance. The one who once gave unlimited chances starts setting boundaries. Many people misunderstand this transformation. They think the empath has changed. But the truth is, the empath is finally choosing survival. They are finally realizing that protecting their peace is not selfish, that saying no is not cruel, and that loving others should never come at the cost of abandoning themselves. Perhaps the greatest lesson emotional burnout teaches an empath is this: not everyone deserves unlimited access to their heart. Not everyone appreciates the sacrifices they make, and not everyone who receives their kindness values it. This realization is painful, but it is also freeing, because true healing begins when an empath understands that they are not responsible for fixing everyone. They are not responsible for carrying everyone's pain. And they are not required to destroy themselves to prove their love. Healthy love requires balance. Healthy relationships require mutual respect. And genuine kindness includes kindness toward oneself. So if there is an empath in your life, appreciate them. Value their presence, respect their boundaries, and never assume that because they are strong, they do not need support. Because even the strongest hearts become weary. Even the kindest souls need rest. And even those who seem limitless have breaking points. Remember this: empaths are not limitless. They are not endless sources of emotional energy. They are human beings with beautiful hearts and invisible wounds. And when they finally learn to protect their peace, it is not because they have stopped loving others. It is because they have finally learned to love themselves. And sometimes, that is the most powerful healing of all.